Hi there, welcome to another talk. I prefer to say that on these kind of talks because it's really just a talk, over some pictures. And earlier today, if you would have saw it on an actual video of me talking to the camera. And I don't have anything in particular I want to talk about. This will be a free-flowing talk about anything. And like I say, on these kind of talks I do these free-flowing ones, for people that might be new to my stuff. If you just all of a sudden never seen me before, I'm not religious. I'm not. I had a person add me on Facebook to ask him why I'm not religious. I'm just not into it. I says to her that religions divide and rule, and my family are a bit religious on my mum's side, but I'm just never into it. And I think this is the reason how the spiritual awakening. What happened to me was just under 10 years ago, I had an unexpected spiritual awakening. I wasn't into this kind of stuff before. My mum's a psychic, a medium. My mum done shows doing transfiguration, which is when you can see the spirit, the loved one, coming through people's faces, and we had pictures to prove it as well. But because obviously this is a lot different, but I had no intentions of going down this path. I was just a guy that wrote a few songs, still write songs, and knew nothing about it. And then all of a sudden, out of nothingness, I sat down one day and had enough of everything. And it was such an authentic moment that it manifested what is called a spiritual awakening. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. Of course, I didn't know, and I think part of that awakening, like that woman I was mentioning, I was talking about that I'm not into religion. I think that's a part of it as well, because if I would have had beliefs, I think that it does block you. Belief systems and stuff like that blocks you, because when you're interacting with the cosmos, space, that's what like a spiritual awakening is. You're interacting with the core. You can't do that if your perceptions are molded by beliefs. I said to that woman as well that that's the point of religion. Religions, the sheeple can't actually see, because when you're asleep, you don't actually see what's going on. You don't see the division. You think, if you're an American, you think that America is the best country in the world. If you're Britain, you think Britain is the best country in the world. If you're Jamaican, you think if you're Christian, you think that's the best. If you're Muslim, you think that's the best. And they don't see the game. And the name of the game is divide and rule. And this is the reason why not everyone has that spiritual awakening. Right? People in the spiritual community, especially people that go and watch people like Eckhart Tolle live, they go to see people like that because they want that awakening themselves. And a lot of times it doesn't happen, and it's because, not a lot of the time, but it's because of perceptual manipulations that happens to us since birth, and religion is a big part of it. How the system tricks the sheeple, is it makes you think that it hates religion. That's what it's doing just now. No. Religion is just a tool for divide and rule. So really it doesn't care about religion, it's just a tool for divide and rule. They can use other things for divide and rule. It's the same with like schools and education system. They use these things for perceptual mind control, but they don't have to use them. It's meaningless to them. So that's why, you know, a lot of the sheeple think just now that the system is against religion. No, it doesn't care about religion. It's just there for a certain time. It knew that you'd wake up eventually. So it doesn't care. It doesn't care about that. But the name of the game is ultimately divide and rule, because what it does is, like I say, it locks you into a set of beliefs. And this stops you from seeing the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is when you awaken. But the big problem is, why did not everyone has to have the awakening at the same time? And why does some, I mean, awakenings have been going on forever. I'm never been into history, but I've had people contacting me since this awakened, like on the internet, and saying, you're saying the same things from spiritual masters from thousands of years ago. And the reason I'm accessing this, or did awaken, is because of, you know, there's a lot of different elements, but innocence plays a big part. The fact that my mind wasn't programmed. I didn't do very well in school, for example. I was kicked out of school when I was 14. I wasn't controlled by a religion. Although my family religion, I never really bought into it. Unless when I was a little kid I did. And then once I got a bit older, you know, and obviously the spiritual awakening, but there was no religious belief, you know, really anything like that holding me down. I never really truly bought into it. You know, that's the thing. You know, I didn't really, you know, I used to always think before the awakening of nothingness, though. It became more apparent after the awakening. And that's why all religions and gods and is illusory nonsense once you wake up spiritually. Because when I had the awakening, then it became apparent that all came from nothing. It's like spiritual awakening, all the common sense things are absolutely in your face. And we are programmed to not even be common sense, not even be rational. We're brainwashed because the system at the top is not a rational system, and it wants to create chaos. That's why you have a division society, black versus white, you know, religion versus non-religion, Catholic, no, whatever religion it is against whoever. And whilst they're in that, they can't see that they're one. And like I say, I think part of that awakening in mine was the fact that I wasn't locked into any ideas like this. I think I had in it a lot of innocence. And I think, like I say, I think that's a massive part. Because then you haven't got your mind covered with crap. Right? And this is the big problem. When people haven't had a spiritual awakening and they want to get an awakening, they go into the spiritual community or spiritual field, they start doing meditation, but there's so much baggage that they've got to get rid of. But you haven't just got to get rid of baggage from this life. When you get past that, you've also got subconscious things from past lives. So I think what my point is, that I think that the fact that I didn't have that helped so much. And people have got to get back to that innocence. Got to get back to knowing nothing. Got to get back to before anyone told you the way anything was. Because remember, when someone tells you the way things are, they're going by their programming. And the person before that's going by their programming. When someone calls someone alcoholic or a druggie or whatever name, that's not them talking, that is the programming. And we have, if you want an awakening, you have to get rid of all of that stuff. And the reason I had an unexpected awakening, I think big part of it, I decided to, but I think it was so easy to do it because there was none of these things holding me back in this life. I think I kept my innocence from childhood. And I think that's a very, very important thing, the importance of innocence. In awakening, you know, you can't ascend. People talk about ascension. You can't get ascension until you awaken. Who you try, you know, you can't awaken. You know, you haven't awakened yet. Doesn't mean you have to have an unexpected awakening. It means you just have to have an awakening. It's all different ways of awakening. But ultimately, you have to tune in to the core of who you are, and that's within you. And that's what happened to me in this spiritual awakening. And I was meant to do it, and the power that's doing it is we have, I call it the heaven self, and that is the you that lives in heaven. Now heaven, you know, a lot of people that have near-death experiences say that it's a place, and they say that we have to go through life review to get there. But it's also everything's energy and awareness, consciousness, and you can be in that state right now. And this is what the awakening is taking you to. And it all starts by going within the heart center. You know, when I started going through this is what started to happen automatically. But I'm doing these talks, videos and talks and stuff, to pass the message on. And it's all about, you know, when I started going through it, like, for example, the heart center came a big part of it. And obviously I didn't know what was happening. And it took me years to look up different people on like YouTube and stuff to find out what I was going through. And I've never been diagnosed with any mental illness, just for anyone that might say that. I got diagnosed once for mental illness by a psychiatrist, and he said that you're just a little bit impulsive. So that's just part of my personality. But obviously in the awakening, you're tapping into who you really are. You know, we are not our labels, our religious beliefs, you know, our titles, skin color, race, religion, and other stuff. All the life experience stuff is just for the experience. And this becomes very apparent in that spiritual awakening process. And you realize that you are all of infinity. And the reason you are all of infinity is because everything comes from nothing. If you think of it, you have to have a start point of nothing. And nothing add nothing equals nothing. What that means is all of infinity. And there can only ever be one infinity. And then you realize, and as the awakening is going on and on, my God, I am God because I'm all of infinity. And this is what I went through, unexpectedly. And I do these videos to try and pass it on to awaken other people. I realize that that's why my heaven self in heaven, that lives in heaven, whether you believe it's a place or an energy realm, I could call it the heaven self. And that is what it learned me, that we are, as David Icke says, and I'll end on this quote, we are a point of attention within an infinite consciousness. And I'm just going to leave it there. For latest updates, videos, blogs, etc., please do visit my website at www.lovelightfamily.com. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you.